Welcome back, everyone. Another 2-5 Poker House Dallas live stream.
One of us is about to flop quads, and you are not going to believe what happens next.
It gets juicy. Let's go. Woo.
Starting with the first hand dealt, we're under the gun +1, and we have pocket queens, and we limp $5. Shout out to our comment giveaway winner. DM us to get your $10. Guys, all you gotta do, like and comment on this video, you win $10. We'll pick a winner for next week. Under the gun +2 opens it up to 20. The small blind Daryl calls, and the big blind Tricky Fish 3 bets to $80. Just the dream spot. The plan has worked with our limp with pocket queens, and we come in for that limp 4 bet to $200. Under the gun +1 folds. Daryl sticks around with a call, and Tricky Fish does not fold, does not call. Yes, he 5 bets to 500. Wow. We're 1,500 effective, and it just feels like a 6-bet jam with pocket queens is a bit of an overplay. Should our 6-bet value range ever extend to pocket queens? I mean, it's gone raise, re-raise, my re-re-raise, and re-re-re-raise. I think that was right. So, all in all, do we really want to just get it in here with the 3rd best starting hand? Now, I am going to be critical of myself, and I do think that in this specific spot, the answer is yes, and I'm not just saying that because we can see what he has. From a player-specific standpoint, Tricky Fish is on the more aggro side, and he likes to get more out of line than the typical player. So when that's the case, yes, our all-in for value range can profitably include pocket queens. So I just call, and Daryl calls as well. So we're going 3 ways in this 5-bet pot to a flop of Jack 10-8 with 2 clubs. Of course, Tricky Fish just gets the dream board to reward him for 5-betting me light. He rips it all in for 1,000, and this is a bad board for me. I mean, the most likely 5-bet hands we were still ahead of pre-flop were jacks and 10s. So I make the fold. Daryl folds as well. Nice hand, Tricky Fish.
And Rosie is going to be kicking himself, thinking, why didn't I just shove pre-flop?
Did he show a 5? Oh, he didn't show a 5. No.
Oh, no.
Here we see an under the gun straddle to 10. Daryl limps under the gun +1, and we've got king, queen of clubs in the cutoff. Now, Daryl likes to tag along pretty often, so we can exploit this by opening massive with our value hands. I go $75, and this big size also gets duck out of there with his pretty 8-7 of diamonds in the small blind, whereas he may 3-bet that spot otherwise. Daryl calls, we visoed him, we're going heads up in position to a flop of 9-deuce-9 rainbow with no club. Daryl checks to me, and now it's time to use our tight image. We c-bet big for $125 despite completely missing, and he folds the better hand. So, first hand I didn't like how I played, this hand I do like how I played.
Attaboy, Rosie. We're playing 2-5-10 here and face 4 limps to me in the big blind. There's $55 of seemingly dead money out there, and I looked on a king 10 offsuit and decided to go for it here and squeeze to $85, hoping just to take it down now. But we're immediately proven wrong when Mills Mafia makes a call right away, and it's back onto Jordan in the cutoff. He's shorter stack, starting the hand with only about 44 big blinds. He looks up in the sky, clearly doing some sorcery in his head to determine how to maneuver here. He ends up doing what I could see in his eyes he was thinking about a while ago. He goes all in as a re-squeeze. It folds back to me, and we are in a bit of a spot. On one hand, we have king high, not a very strong hand at all, but then again, what sort of hands can Jordan have that limps in the cutoff and then decides all of a sudden to commit his stack? If he had a strong hand, I suspect he would just raise to begin with. Something smells fishy to me here, and king 10 offsuit, well, although not great, can likely be ahead or at least flipping with a lot of his hands. The pot is already $650 and it's only $360 more to call, meaning if we have at least 35% equity against him, this is a profitable spot to rejam and fold out Mills Mafia. Against a cutoff limp raise, this seems like a slam dunk to me in the moment. Let's gamble, baby. I jam it in, Mills folds, and I look up at Jordan. He gives me a defeated look and says, "You are so ahead right now." That's always a good sign. He asks to run it twice. I say sure. We head to 2 runouts. The first board, we completely brick everything, and I tell him we have king high right now. He says that's good, and I am in utter shock. One more runout, and let's see if we can scoop it here. Flop comes 5-3 deuce. We brick out again, turn another deuce, and not sure what we need to avoid on this river, but it comes a jack. We show the king high monster of a hand we have, and he mucks. We caught him with his hand in the cookie jar here and stacked the short stack in a pretty hilarious way. Let's go.
The boys and myself are hosting a NEXTGEN Poker Meetup Game Tournament January 29th, the last Sunday of this month at 2 p.m. $130 entry, 10K guaranteed. It's the first time we're ever doing this. You gotta come, you gotta come. We're gonna fill the entire room with all fans, put it on the vlog, and best part is we're actually live streaming the final table. All three of us will either be playing in it or we'll be in the booth commentating it for the vlog. See you guys there, we're excited.
Here, the straddle is on again, and Regis limps under the gun +1 with $10. We've got ace-king offsuit on the button. Same reason as my last hand, we're opening big here with value. I make it 75, and only Regis makes the call. Off to a flop, which comes queen, king, deuce, all spades. We do not have one. Regis checks, and it is time to both value bet and charge draws. I bet $125, and Regis makes the call. Off to the turn with over 400 at stake, and it's the 7 of hearts. Regis checks again. Definitely could be scared of the 3 spades and king queen, but in this specific spot, I still want to value bet, and we value bet confidently, $250. Regis makes the fold, and we take it down. Straddle is on again, and we've got 6s under the gun +1. We limp, and under the gun +2 limps, the cutoff limps, the button limps, and the big blind limps. The under the gun straddle says, guys, the party's over, and he opens it up to 75 with ace jack of diamonds. Let's go for the set mine. Hopefully others will come in too, juice up this pot. I call the 75. Everyone else does fold though. An interesting strategic note I want to point out is if I had opened the 6s under the gun +1, I would have likely gotten a bunch of these same guys to call and then faced a massive squeeze 3-bet from Nico here rather than just an open, causing me to likely fold this hand and not get to see the flop. The limp allows me to get in there for cheaper. As Daniel Negreanu is now saying, limpin' is pimpin'. Off to a flop, heads up in position, which comes ace, ace, queen with 2 clubs. Not the ideal board for 6s, but this guy checks. So we get to see a free turn and we check it back. The turn is the 6 of clubs. Yes, oh my goodness. And now Nico starts betting to the tune of $75. What would you guys do here? Call or raise? There is tons of value to be had from ace X and clubs, but I don't want to scare away his holdings that are either bluffs or fairly weak. I call, and now let's see if the man, the myth, the legend, Jonathan Little agrees, and then let's see the river.
When your opponent checks the flop, most of the time, they're not going to have 3 of a kind or a flush draw. I know they had 3 of a kind this time, but usually they're not. So when the turn brings the 3rd club and your opponent bets, if you think they don't have a whole lot of 3 of a kind and not a whole lot of flushes, there's no reason to raise because your opponent's drawing thin or dead in this scenario. So calling definitely makes sense. If you raise, I think you're going to have a very difficult time getting value. And if your opponent is bluffing with some random nonsense hand like 9-8 of diamonds, you certainly want to keep them in the pot because they're going to feel somewhat inclined to bluff the river. So I love the turn call. I think it is the only option.
Always love it when Jonathan approves the play. We do have free passes, by the way, all the time for you guys to his pokercoaching.com platform. It's awesome. Link is in the description. And we're off to the river, which is the 8 of spades. Nico bets again to the tune of $250. We love to see it. A nice big bet. And we've got one move and one move only. We rip it all in for 8-13 effective. He goes into the tank and makes the fold. Good fold, Nico. We, however, win over $440. Let's go.
Always a pleasure to hear from the expert Jonathan Little. This hand we see Regis open to $25 under the gun, Daryl calls, and we look down at pocket 10s next to act. Regis opens light and Daryl calls even lighter. I raise this one up to 110. Regis wouldn't fold for $1 million though. He makes a call and Daryl gives up his 5 high. Flop is almost too good to be true. 10-4 deuce with a flush draw. Regis checks. I bet small to rope him in with any overcards, weaker pairs, and even some garbage hands he might not feel like folding yet. He has probably the best hand he'll ever have here though, pocket 9s. Turn is a jack of clubs bringing in 2 flush draws, and when he checks again, it's time to size up and go for some value. I bet 200, and unfortunately, Regis makes a tight laydown with his now 3rd pair. We might have missed some value against his exact holding on the flop, but I think targeting his entire range and squeaking out that money 100% of the time will lead to a higher profit against him long term.
Straddle is on again, and Mr. Regis wakes up with the Rockets in +2. He opens to 45, and Daryl in +3 makes the call. folds to us in the small blind with ace queen offsuit. Uh-oh. Now, from a configuration standpoint, I think this is just a 3-bet. You know, the two loosest people at the table are in this pot. We've got a great starting hand, and we're out of position. I don't have x-ray vision, so I 3-bet to $250. Gets to Regis, who goes for the min-click 4-bet to 500. Daryl folds, and I don't care about pot odds. I'm sorry, guys. I just think we're dead. So I fold, and it's on to the next one.
Good fold, Roaster. This hand we're playing 2-5-10 and see 4 limps over to us in the big blind with Jack 5 offsuit. This is always a fold for even $5 more, but my VPIP is low this game. I'm trying to get involved. I make the call. Let's see what happens. Tricky Fish checks his option, and now we're 6 ways to a flop of 5-4-3 rainbow. Probably one of the best flops I could even ask for, and I decided to actually lead here to charge all weaker draws, deny equity from overcards, and get value versus any worse pairs. I bet $30 and get a call from Mills Mafia and one more call from Mr. Regis. Turn is an absolute miracle of a card, the Jack of Spades. The Jack 5 offsuit now turns into a monster holding. I bet $90 this time, and both players stick around for the call once again. River's a king, seemingly a brick the way action has played out so far, and I want to continue going for value, so my initial thought is to bomb it here. Before I go for it though, I start to think about what sort of hands I'm trying to get a call from. All of the draws bricked out, so I'm really just targeting weaker pairs here, and all of those holdings are now downgraded to either 3rd or 4th pair. If I want those hands to call and also give missed draws a chance to bluff, I think betting is small actually makes much more sense. I bet $75, Mills thinks it over and makes a call, and now it's on to Mr. Regis. He has a devious look in his eyes, grabs a stack of greens, and then decides against it and folds, flashing a deuce. I show, we win, and we take down a nice sized pot with the good old Jack 5 offsuit.
The straddle's on, and we wake up with pocket aces and +1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hand of the night. We go for, you guessed it, the limp, and sure enough, +2 opens it right up to $35. We see a hijack call, a button call, Jack in the small blind calls. We love it lurking in the weeds here with our aces, and it is time for the limp 3-bet. We make it $175, and under the gun +2 comes in for the 4-bet to $475. It folds back to us. Oh my goodness. It is risky to just flat pre-flop with aces. You could get yourself sucked out on, but we don't want to give Mills the chance to get away easy if he's bluffing, or even if he has a really strong pocket pair that he's willing to get away from. So we just flat the 4-bet, and we're off to a flop with 1100 in the middle. I will let you listen to the wonderful commentators here.
Oh, okay. Wow. We don't have to worry about anybody sucking out on anybody. What a flop.
The goods.
And he checks it like he should. And this is a great board for Mills's range.
Yup, we flop quad aces in a 4-bet pot. We check to the aggressor, who continues for $250. Now this is a super tiny bet. It's very tempting to raise a less than a quarter sized bet, but we want to keep his bluffs in, and we have nothing to worry about with quads. So we make the call. Off to a turn with 1600 in the middle, and it's the 10 of clubs. I check again. Let's keep acting passive, and maybe his bluffs will keep going.
And now is Mills gonna get the news, or is he gonna go again? He's going again, John.
My gosh. In the night,
dude.
Mills is just gonna.
This is pain.
God.
Loving the commentary from Knock and Nick in the booth. Yes, the dream continues as Mills bets $625. We have quad aces in a 4-bet pot, and we're being blasted into. We go for the smooth call again with a hand this strong, with plans to go for it all on the river. And that river with $2,800 at stake is an offsuit 6. Now the chip stack graphics are slightly off. If you look at Mills' stack, he's got 6 red stacks and like half of a 7th one, so he's hovering around 650-ish. That's less than a quarter of what's out there. So in my mind, that means he's not going to feel comfortable to bluff, as he knows I'll be priced in to call. If I check and he checks a monster value hand back, like pocket 10s for instance, that would be a nightmare. And when we jam, like we said, he's only got a quarter pot bet left, so he's going to have great odds to call me with marginal value. So we finally snatch that betting lead back and rip it in for $650 effective. Mills, has a bluff, not value, and makes the fold. We scoop one of the most dreamlike pots I've ever played.
What a stream. I was in for 1,000, out for 1,800.
I was in for 2,000, out for 4,360.
Hot streak,
Hot
baby.
streak continues. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like,
Comment.
subscribe. Peace.